Support the show and feed your nightmares. Patreon gets you ad-free episodes, early access, and an entire vault of 80+ exclusive stories. Link in the description below. You may call me Jack. While I am a ripper, yes, I am not that Jack. But, of course, as is the way of my kind, we rippers all aspire to achieve such greatness. One day, perhaps. One day. Not that the Jack I speak of was the first of our kind. No. We have been around since humanity first soiled Eden. Inside every person is a ripper waiting to get out. Lucky for the populace, a true ripper is a rare occurrence. Almost, but never quite, a once-in-a-generation thing. Sure, there are these so-called serial killers out there, but they are not rippers, simply predators with opposable thumbs. Do not get me wrong, many of these killers are quite good at what they do, obsessing over their victims, luring their victims, hunting their victims, killing their victims, dismembering their victims, not necessarily in that order. Many should be applauded for the pain and anguish and horror they contribute to the world. But to be a true ripper, one must not only be intimate with forms of brutality and violence only seen in the pits of hell, but one must also be in love with their victims. Yes, you heard me correctly. A ripper must love who they kill. Even that Jack of legend loved his victims. Wait, not victims. Partners? No. Lovers. Yes, not victims or partners, but lovers. For aren't love and pain only two sides of the same coin? Oh, that Jack loved his ladies. He most certainly did. Loved each whore to death, you might say. And those were only the ones known to the public, those ladies of the night whom he adored. There were others, much more prominent others, who succumbed to his charms and his bloody instruments. Behind locked doors, behind closed curtains, in the gloom and shadow of well-apportioned sitting rooms, where Jack could take his time and enjoy a fine brandy, possibly a cigar, while dismembering a maiden from one of society's more prominent houses. But those quiet loves of his were never announced. They never made the front pages of the papers. No sensational headlines for those poor dears. Their deaths were swept under the rug, so to speak, explained away as a sudden and destructive illness or an unfortunate accident. With money and title, there need never be an inconvenient investigation from the police or other interested authorities. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the families didn't care for the darlings who were taken too soon. No, they cared. They just may have had other, more pressing secrets that they couldn't afford to see the light of day. But that was the past and in a faraway locale. That Jack stalked the streets and fire-lit parlors of a much different city than the streets I currently walk. An ocean away, yet in reality its distance is so much greater. For everything and nothing starts and ends here, in the Infernal City. That other place, that other Jack, are more of fiction and fancy than anything of substance. Because once you are inside and a part of the Infernal City, it is also inside and a part of you. And believe me when I say that never the twain shall part. There is a connection, a thrumming life or death, depending on your view, that cannot be severed. Even by a deft hand, wielding a honed and sharpened knife such that I carry. For this is the way of the Infernal City, this god-awful place, this beautiful nightmare, this delicious playground. The Infernal City is my breath, my beating heart. It is the blood in my veins and the waste in my viscera. It wraps me in a cold, dead embrace, whispering sweet nothings and rotten somethings in both ears simultaneously. It could make sleep difficult if it wasn't so calming with its screams and cries and whines and pleas. What wonderfully horrific music this city makes. It soothes the savage beast, making room for an even more brutal monster waiting just below the surface. Such as tonight. A fine night in the city. A splendid evening where the rain has finally passed and the clock has yet to strike midnight. I walk the streets, my boots quiet as kitten paws. We rippers are impossible to detect when we decide that stealth is our game for the evening. Otherwise, we can be quite boisterous, the life of the party. But tonight, I am not looking for a party. No, my rendezvous is of a more intimate nature. A one-on-one with a woman of grand reputation, and even grander power. Money is not a motivating factor tonight. Now, as I have said, we rippers are fueled by love. My aim this evening is to add fire to that fuel and see where this flame takes us. Because, and it is something I have feared for a time now, that my love, my dearest heart, may not be as faithful as I had hoped. There are others seeking her attention. So, tonight, I shall endeavor to make my ways her only focus from here on out by offering her a choice. Well, more like 15 choices to be precise. A smorgasbord of pain, if you'd like. While there are countless ways to dispatch a person, for rippers, there are 15 preferred ways to appropriately kill your lover. As I arrive at the grand house that has seen much, much better days, I study its facade, seeing the house for what it is, a tomb, a mausoleum, a gilded crypt, if you will. The smell of death wafts from every crack and crevice, and I savor the aroma. Has another ripper already been here? I lift my nose and take in the house's bouquet. Mold, mildew, rat feces, mouse urine, strong black tea, crumbling brick and stone, aged wood heading toward full rot. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing to say another of my kind has graced this house with their presence. I am surprised, to be honest. There is an obvious, yet slight hint of cadaverine which is like a clarion call to rippers. Do you not know of cadaverine? Oh, you poor ignorant fools. How can you not know of such a wonder of nature? The cologne of corpses. I take another long sniff and smell cadaverine's partner in crime, putrescine, the putrid perfume. The two scents drift in the air like a bake shop, tantalizing passerbys with the smell of cinnamon and butter. Not wanting to appear unseemly in any way, I shake off my olfactory musings and climb the 4 stone steps up to the front door. The knocker is grotesque with one eye, its jaw hanging open, just waiting for an idiot to reach in and try to announce their arrival. I know better, for I am a man of education and training. We rippers must be disciplined in all of our actions, and discipline requires repetition, restraint, repose. I study the knocker, then perform a deep bow before it. My good sir, if you could inform the lady of the house that I have arrived, I would be most grateful. The grotesque single eye watches me closely, then blinks slow and lazy, as if I had uttered the most boring words ever to spill from a man's lips.
The lady is not receiving visitors,
the grotesque announces.
Begone.
Not receiving visitors? I stand straight, confused. That cannot be, kind sir. She is expecting me.
Then you are not a visitor.
Oh? And what am I, if I may ask?
An invited guest.
The grotesque's mouth turns up in a smirk.
It would serve you well to know the difference and announce yourself appropriately.
My apologies. Will you please alert the lady of the house that her paramour has arrived? And punctually, I may add. And delay is on you, good sir, not me.
Laying blame on a stone door knocker, are you?
The grotesque tisked and tisked.
You must be of low breeding.
On the contrary, I am of a bloodline that has navigated this social strata for millennia.
And yet, you do not know the difference between a visitor and an invited guest. Navigated and being are of two different things.
We lock eyes because we do not have horns to cross like raging bulls. Will you announce my arrival or not, good sir? Or shall I find my own way inside?
Is that a threat? Are you threatening to breach these walls without invitation? I shall raise my voice and call for the authorities before you can take a step.
Oh, enough of this. I remove the calfskin glove from my right hand.
What are you doing? Stop that!
The grotesque's mouth opens wide, ready to shout out its alarm, but the tips of my fingers touch its brow and stills the thing. There we go. Much better. The grotesque becomes instantly still and silent. Nothing like the touch of a ripper to bring calm to a volatile situation. The thing's one eye glares at me as I grip its lower jaw and knock loudly, making sure I put a little extra effort into it as I slam that jaw against the door over and over again.
Yes, what is it?
The door is yanked open. My love's manservant sees me standing there, then glances at the frozen grotesque door knocker. He makes no attempt to hide his disapproval. Good evening, Victor. I bow my head politely. I have an appointment with the lady. He ignores my words and cocks his head toward the silent and yet obviously enraged knocker.
You're doing?
I'm afraid we did not see eye to eye. I begin to remove my other glove.
None of that, please. Your gloves are to remain on this evening, sir.
Oh, well, how uncomfortable.
An unfortunate necessity.
The lady has never wanted my hands covered before.
It is of my suggesting, sir.
He looks at the frozen grotesque once more.
A prudent suggestion, it appears.
Far from it, Victor. Far from it. I make sure both gloves are firmly in place, then look past Victor. Am I to be invited in or not? I grow weary of the games, Victor.
Please, sir, come in.
Victor steps aside as he pulls the door fully open. His head dips in a polite bow.
The lady is in the sitting parlor. Fresh tea and biscuits have been provided. But we both know your appetite bends toward other delicacies.
I am a man of exquisite and unique tastes, yes. I remove my hat and cloak, handing them to Victor. I would have given him the gloves as well, but apparently I am being intentionally hobbled this evening. How very droll. The sitting parlor, you say? It is a rhetorical question, as I am already moving in that direction. I shall announce you, sir. He finishes hanging my cloak and hat on silver wall pegs shaped like wolf heads. No need to bother yourself, Victor. I know where I am going, and the lady is expecting me.
It is inappropriate to announce oneself, sir.
Considering the rudeness with which I have already been subjected, Victor, I believe inappropriate is this evening's theme. He stares at me, his lip rising in a detestable sneer.
Very well, sir. As you wish.
He bows low, then slinks off through a side door. I frown. That was too easy. A servant of Victor's caliber never gives up so quickly. I shall have to keep my wits about me this evening, which is never a bad idea when visiting my one truest love. To the sitting parlor I go, marveling at the wealth of art lining the hallway, scenes of wickedness and depravity, the likes of which would set most museums ablaze simply for housing them, hang proudly next to pastoral works of a much less shocking nature. The dichotomy has always intrigued me, beautiful and beastly side by side. Of course, which is beautiful and which is beastly is entirely up to the eye of the beholder. Reaching the parlor door, I tap lightly with a gloved knuckle, then open the door. My love, are you in here?
Jack, oh my dearest love, you have arrived.
The lady leaps up from her high-backed chair, set near the well-apportioned fireplace. She races to me, wrapping her arms around my back, pulling me into her, pressing her body tightly to mine. Her face nestles in the hollow of my neck. "Oh, how I have missed you and looked forward to tonight." Her whisper, her breath, is a warm tickle on my cold skin. She suddenly pushes back and frowns up at me.
"But you are late, which is not like you. Where have you been, Jack?"
She shoves away, whipping around as she places a hand to her forehead and her back to me.
"It is another woman, isn't it? You have found someone new to give your heart to."
"Oh, my dearest love, do not be silly." I move quickly to her, taking her by the shoulders and pulling her into me so her back rests against my chest. I lean in close, placing my lips to her ear. "You know that my heart only has room for you, my love." I feel her shudder against me, and that longing stirs inside me, threatening to rise too soon. But I tamp it down, control it, subdue it. Patience is what the evening requires. We have a lot to discuss, my love and I, before we succumb to our baser desires. Of course, for me, my baser desire is also my bloodiest desire. My need for cruel, abhorrent violence, just waiting to be called upon. Not yet, though. Not yet. Timing is everything for a ripper.
"Biscuit?"
My love's sudden announcement startles me as she pushes off of my chest and hurries to the sideboard.
"We have butter or jam. Which would you prefer?"
"Whichever is upon your lips, my love."
"Oh, Jack."
She waves a hand dismissively at me.
"I am already blushing. Do not make it worse. You know how ruddy my complexion gets, how I become a crimson beacon in the night."
"One of your many endearing qualities, my love."
"Oh, you. Stop."
She turns and gives me a serious look.
"Which will it be, Jack? Butter biscuit or jammy biscuit?"
The way she phrases her question makes me wonder what she was like as a young girl. Did she skip down the hallways of this very house? Or was she more serious? A girl who took careful steps? It's hard to say, knowing her as I do. A complicated woman is my love. I suspect she was never a girl. "No biscuit for me, my sweetheart of hearts." I gesture toward the high-backed chair opposite of hers. "May I?"
"Oh, of course, of course."
Her enthusiasm borders on maniacal. When seated, I slip the gloves from my hands and fold them carefully, draping them across the arm of the chair. Her eyes fall to the gloves, then to my now naked hands, and widen slightly. Then she meets my gaze, and I recognize the look she gives me. Hunger. She wants what only I can give her. She wants it so badly that she's thrown all caution to the wind. I am sure she had a careful conversation with Victor earlier, planning and plotting in order to avoid this very situation. But I know my love and her desires, her needs. To have me so close and not be touched by my hands would be a torture even she cannot endure. And she can endure a lot of torture. I decide to lean into that hunger of hers. "So, my darling dearest, when I arrived tonight, not only was your door knocker quite rude, but Victor appears to have a specific set of instructions regarding my gloves, or, more precisely, my hands. Care to illuminate me on the origins of his request?" Moving my hands up and down the arms of the chair, I press down firmly, leaving slight trails in the upholstery. Her eyes never leave my hands. My eyes never leave her body. I watch her chest rise and fall, her desire so apparent that it's almost sad. Her left hand goes to her belly, and her right to her throat. She wants me to stand up and touch her cheek, dropping her into a paralyzed yet fully aware state, so I can do my bidding and have my way with her. If I were to do that, I could most certainly have her splayed out on the floor, her dress and undergarments tossed aside, while I and my instruments do our nastiest to her soft, supple skin. My dearest love has many scars across her belly and breasts that are proof that my love for her has been real, which is still true. It's only my trust that is in question. But before anything can happen, least of all my love for answering my question, the parlor door opens and Victor wheels in a tray of tea and biscuits, along with a tower of small cakes and candied fruit. He instantly spots my gloves on the chair, and a flash of rage occludes his features briefly and then is gone, as if it never existed. But I know it existed, and it piques my interest.
Victor, may I ask you a question? Of course, sir. As long as Lady Mort approves.
He places the cart next to my dearest's chair.
My lady, he may ask you a question, Victor.
Her voice is slightly dreamy, her attention on my hands and nothing else.
Thank you, my darling.
I nod to her, then focus on Victor.
Are you having carnal relations with my beloved?
His brief second of hesitation before he tries to feign offense is all I need to know. I am out of my chair, my hands around his throat, faster than he can track. Such is the way we rippers move when we have decided on a course of action. My dearest, my Lady Mort, gasps as I ease Victor's body to the floor. When I turn to her, she has undone the first few buttons of her dress and is nodding at me enthusiastically.
He has poisoned my mind against you, my wonderful Jack. He seduced me and took me, and I cried out for you while he defiled me. His jealousy is why he said the things he said to you.
She undoes another 2 buttons, and I walk to her.
So this was all Victor's doing? Your intention was to leave me? Leave you? I could never leave you.
She almost leaps into my arms, and I can feel the heat of her passion surging through her clothing. Her arms grab me, grip me, explore me, rubbing up and down all over.
You have to believe me, Jack. You are all I think of. You are what wakes me in the morning and puts me to sleep at night. Without you, I am nothing. A woman of great standing, yes, but we both know there is so much more to life than standing. All of my riches cannot buy what you give me, Jack. I have tried to be faithful. I have tried with my entire soul. Yet, you were not faithful.
I push her back, not unkindly.
You have been with another.
I look down at Victor and his eyes meet mine. They are filled with pure rage.
And while you may not have been a willing participant, you cannot honestly expect me to believe you are wholly innocent. But I am, Jack! Victor has always been in love with me. For as long as I can remember, he would steal glances at me when I was in the same room as him. I even found a peephole in my dressing room so he could watch me bathe.
She shivers and I almost laugh. I'm a ripper. Does she think I don't know the difference between a shiver of disgust, a shiver of fear, or the ecstatic shiver of pleasure? I know them all intimately, just as I know this woman intimately.
Ah, so this is all because Victor's obsession has finally revealed itself, and he wants you only for himself? Is that what you are saying? He will stop at nothing to have me!
I smile, and then brush her cheek with the back of my hand. She immediately collapses into my arms, and I set her down next to Victor, making sure they are close, but cannot touch. The fear in my love's eyes is almost too much for me to bear, yet bear it I must. I remove my suit jacket and drape it over the back of my chair, taking the gloves from the arm and setting them on top of the jacket. Then I slowly roll up my sleeves as I stand over my 2 captives' heads. My love watches me as I twist the cotton sleeves bit by bit until the first one is settled above my elbow. She watches as I do the same with the other sleeve. In Victor's eyes, there is only murder. I applaud his thinking. With my sleeves rolled, I say,
You both know what I am. Yes, my name is Jack. But that is what we are all called, isn't it? Jack or Jacqueline, Jacques or Jacqueline, and all the other iterations on the name? Jack. But, as you both also know, my name is only a placeholder for what I truly am.
I crouch and brush a strand of hair out of my love's face, tucking it behind her ear. She shudders and breathes heavily through her nose.
I am a ripper. I have been put on this earth to bring pain to those who hold my heart.
I turn my attention to Victor.
You, my unfortunate friend, do not hold my heart.
My knife is out and slashing across his throat before the words have finished tumbling from my mouth. Victor tries to gasp, but he cannot move his mouth. I wipe the blade upon his waistcoat, then set it on my dearest's chest, grinning at how it rises and falls with her bosom as her rate of breathing increases exponentially.
Oh dear.
I smile at the mess I have made. Fishing a handkerchief from my own waistcoat, I dab at the spray of Victor's blood that is streaked across my love's face.
We can't have you looking unseemly, my love.
I clean her thoroughly, making sure not a drop of crimson is left on her face or neck. I even check behind her ears and almost laugh as she vibrates at my touch.
There. Now we have a clean slate, a fresh palette.
I lean over her and gently kiss her lips.
A blank canvas.
Standing, I walk to the tray and pour myself a cup of tea. I do take a butter biscuit as well. A little refreshment actually sounds delightful now. I seat myself in the high-backed chair and sip my tea.
You should not be alarmed, my love, over this evening's revelations. As a Ripper, I have a keen sense of when a relationship is about to end. I arrived tonight knowing full well that you were not as faithful as you proclaimed to be.
Over the rim of my cup, I watch her struggle against my power. She wants to tell me otherwise, to plead for my mercy, to beg for my cruelty, to succumb to my blade. Frustration builds in her, and I grin. I set my cup down.
You, my darling, have been one of the greatest joys in my life, and I do not say that lightly, as I have had some truly great joys. And because of your place within my heart, I am going to afford you a choice I never afford the others.
Oh, is that anger I see in those eyes? Jealousy? My love is not happy that I have admitted to others before her. No, a lady of her stature wants to be the only one, wants to be the first and the last. How sad for her.
While there are hundreds of variations, possibly thousands, when it comes to killing a lover, there are exactly 15 ways that a Ripper goes about it. Shall I list them for you?
Of course, she doesn't answer. Not with her voice, at least. Her eyes tell me to continue. Her eyes tell me she is enjoying this. We'll have to tamp that enjoyment down a tad. I stand and walk to the cart. Moving the teapot and cups to the side, I remove the silver tray they rest on and set that down by my love's head. Then I slowly, carefully begin to empty my pockets. And I do have a lot of pockets, all expertly concealed by the city's foremost tailor. 4 scalpels, 2 pairs of small pliers, a hacksaw blade snapped in half for ease of carrying. Oh wait, make that 6 scalpels. I forgot about the 2 in my waistcoat. Packets of salt, a vial of malt vinegar for chips or torture, depending on my mood. Then there's another vial that certainly does not contain malt vinegar. Several nails sharpened to the finest points. A rock hammer. And, last but certainly not least, my already bloodied knife that I take from where it rests on her bosom, and I set it next to my other hallowed instruments. My wonderful, horrible knife is a custom weapon that I had made by the city's foremost bladesmith. It's as bespoke as my many-pocketed outfit. I line each instrument up on the tray as I crouch close to my love's head. A scalpel seems like a fine way to begin. The few buttons still left undone on my dearest's blouse fall away with only a few flicks of my wrist. Her corset holds her firmly in its grip. It's all she has between it and her bare skin. With practiced ease, I slide the scalpel under the first row of laces on her corset.
The first way for a Ripper to kill a lover is to slash their throat.
I run my finger across my own throat, laughing as I do it.
But for a woman such as you, my dear, that would be too crass. Victor deserved what he got, the basest of deaths.
My wrist flicks, and the first row of laces separates from her corset. I move on to the next. Flick. The second row succumbs. Flick. The third row loses against the blade. Flick, flick, flick. I set the scalpel back on the tray and reach down, pushing the corset apart. The fabric she wears is flimsy, near see-through. A smile plays at my lips as I catch the slightest hint of rosy nipples under the thin cotton. A moan catches in her throat, and I sigh. Be patient, my love. I stroke her forehead with my thumb, back and forth, back and forth. All good things come to those who wait. I stand and walk around her body, studying her form, deciding where to go next. A wicked grin is what the lesser women get, my love. I bend over when I am near her feet. I grab her ankles and pull them apart further so I can step between her legs and crouch down, my knees almost resting on the tops of her thighs. The second way to kill a lover is a brutal one. I reach out and grab a fresh scalpel. I set the blade directly over her belly button, cutting through the skin and fat and muscle of the abdomen until the blade finds the cavity within. I trace the scalpel over the cotton, just enough to slice through the fabric, but not touch the skin. Her eyes try to find mine, but the way her head is tilted, I know all she can see is the tip of her own nose. Oh, how maddening it must be for her. I add just a little more pressure and blood wells under a loose strip of cotton. Another moan is caught in her throat. I slice away the blood-soaked fabric and tuck it into one of my many pockets as a memento to be brought out later when I'm feeling nostalgic. Clearing away the bits of fabric I have sliced, I smile down at her scarred belly. Oh, the fun we have had together. Each one of those scars means something to both of us. I trace a thick bit of skin with the scalpel, then slowly, oh so slowly, press the blade under the scar, slicing deep into her flesh. The moan she tries to articulate almost chokes her, so I withdraw the scalpel and watch the blood flow. Like a small stream, it rolls across her abdomen and down her side, lost in the folds of her corset and dress. I know she wants me to undress her fully and take her, but that is not going to happen this evening. Our times of carnal pleasure are long over. Tonight is about closure, although there won't be much of her that can be considered closed when I finish with her. Now, a Ripper's skills must go beyond blades, of course. I wipe the scalpel on the part of the cloth still covering her breasts. No. There are so many other ways to dispatch a person. Leaning down, I put my forearm against her throat and ease my weight forward. Strangulation is favored of many a Ripper, whether it be by weight. I lean in a little harder, and the air wheezing through her windpipe starts to hitch. When her eyes begin to bulge, I ease back, and it's like a child's whistle, the sound of her lungs sucking in desperately needed air. That is one way. Here is another. I go for the classic hands around her throat pose and put my thumbs to her windpipe. It would only take a hard squeeze for it all to be over, and I can tell by the look in her eyes that she is quite aware of this reality. She knows it, I know it. My hands fall away. Or I could use rope or thick twine. I could use one of your stockings or your lacy undergarments. The options are almost endless. I point to the rope, tying the curtains back from the parlor's windows. That will do. So will that. I point at the arm of my jacket. Anything, really, so long as it can be wrapped around your neck and cinched tight. I walk away from her and sip some more tea. It's gone horridly cold, and I set it back down, disgusted. Now, my fairest one, I would be remiss if I didn't explain the difference between strangulation and suffocation. Seeing a small pillow on her chair, I pick it up, turning it over and over in my hands, studying the stitched pattern on the front. Is this a cardinal? I'm holding the pillow out for her to see. Incapable of moving, she can neither answer me verbally nor nod her head in agreement. I shrug and study the stitched bird again. Yes,
I believe it is a cardinal. Are you aware they are the largest of the finch family? Personally, I am more of a fan of the goldfinch. Oh, how I love the black and yellow juxtaposed against each other. A cardinal is beautiful too, but they are a little one note, in my opinion.
I continued to study the image, then shake my head.
Ah, where were we? Oh yes, the fourth way, suffocation.
I round her body and kneel at her head, holding the pillow above her face.
While both strangulation and suffocation deprive the brain of precious oxygen, it is suffocation that offers the best chance at revival.
In a surge of violence, I shoved the pillow against her nose and mouth, blocking her airways. If she could move, she would be batting at me with her hands or trying to push the pillow from her face. But she cannot move, so I must use my years of experience and ingrained ripper skills to time it just right. 1 potato, 2 potatoes, 3 potatoes, 4 potatoes, 5 potatoes, 6 potatoes. I yank the pillow away and rock back on my heels as she sucks air through her nostrils. Her body doesn't stop filling her lungs until her chest is so inflated it looks ready to burst. Then that perfectly timed, impossibly long breath is slowly let back out through those same nostrils. Of course they are the same. Where would she get different nostrils? I chuckled to myself.
Now, with suffocation, I could have let you run out of air and die, my dear.
I get back to my feet, tossing the pillow back onto the chair.
And by placing my mouth to yours, I could then blow new air into your expired lungs, artificially inflating them until they are able to move on their own once more.
Her eyes are wide, mad, terrified.
But with strangulation, unfortunately revival is not as simple. Many times, parts of the body are crushed beyond repair. Your trachea, which is your windpipe, needs to be intact in order for a person to breathe properly. Like I showed you with my thumbs, I could crush that airway, and that would be that. No amount of mouth-to-mouth will revive you.
I go to the tea and pour a fresh cup from the pot, even though it's cold.
If this wasn't your last evening, my dear, I would suggest that you invest in a more substantial tea set. This porcelain is so thin as to be useless. I'm surprised it even holds liquid, since it cannot hold heat worth a damn.
Tea rant over, I bend and pick up my knife. I lean and grab her left wrist.
Yes, you can argue that bloodletting is a single category in of itself, but I prefer to break out the possibilities, such as the opening of the radial artery.
Light shines along the blade as I slowly press it to the inside of my love's wrist.
The side-to-side of popular culture is not how you open an artery. They run parallel with the arm, so they must be cut in a lengthwise fashion.
I angle the blade, putting the sharp edge right above the radial artery. Then I slice quickly and move back, watching the blood spray. Without missing a beat, I stand and fetch a tea towel, wrapping it tightly around the wound before I take off my necktie and use that as a tourniquet, tying it off just below her elbow. When I remove the tea towel, the blood flow is only a trickle. It won't remain that way for long, which means I am now on the clock and must hurry or the evening will be ruined.
And since we are on the subject of arteries, let's move down to a favorite of mine, the femoral.
Crouching by her legs, I slowly run my hands up under her dress, lifting the edge higher and higher until it is bunched up at her waist. I cock my head in surprise and look over at her face.
Darling, you seem to have forgotten to put on an important undergarment.
I swear, if I didn't know better, I could swear she just winked.
Dirty girl.
My blade caresses her inner thigh. I run the steel up and down her leg, watching as goosebumps appear, turning her skin into a sea of tiny bumps. Then I pause and press the very tip of the knife to the large artery in her inner thigh.
Only a tiny amount of pressure is needed for me to cut through this skin and pierce the femoral artery. If I were to do that, then this evening would end within seconds.
I nick the skin and lean in, licking the blood from her leg. I smack my lips as I pull back.
But we don't want to be done yet, do we?
I glance at the biological timer I have set. The wrist wound is bleeding slightly faster.
What number are we on?
I snap my fingers.
Ah, yes, number 7.
I wipe my knife clean and set it on the tray, trading it for one of the sharpened nails. And when I say it is sharpened, I do mean it is sharpened.
This next part will not be as fun for you as it will be for me.
I press the tip of the nail to a spot on her naked chest.
The panic you feel might drive you to madness. Just know that panic in a situation like this is perfectly natural. There is no shame in being overcome by it.
Putting my full weight on the head of the nail, I shove down hard. The tip slips through her flesh and cartilage like she is made of butter. Surprisingly, her body bucks once, then stills. I put my free hand against her belly, making sure I touch as much flesh as possible.
Be calm, darling, be calm.
Then I yank the nail out, and a high, keening whistle fills the parlor as air from her lung escapes into the room. After a moment, the whistling stops, and my dearest love's entire body tenses up as she slowly starts to suffocate.
Now, many times, you could last a good while with only one lung. Except I am a ripper, and the perfect placement of my instrument is key to my identity. So there is no good while for you, I'm afraid, my love. You will be dead in seconds.
I get up and move about the room, looking for the item I need. Could I have brought one with me? Of course, but where is the fun in that? Then I see it, a fountain pen resting on a pad of paper over by the window. I hurry to retrieve it.
It's an entirely different feeling than with the pillow, yes? It may count as suffocation, but the two methods are so far apart in execution that just like with bloodletting, I give them their own separate number on my list of 15 ways to kill a lover.
Her face is quickly turning from red to purple to blue as I disassemble the fountain pen, keeping only the lower tube.
Are you still with me?
I kneel down and give her cheek a soft pat.
Or have I misjudged the timing?
Without a word of warning, I jam the piece of fountain pen into the hole in my love's lung. The whistling begins again and then evens out. Her chest starts to rise and fall in a more normal fashion. I study my work and smile.
That should last longer, or as long as the tourniquet on your arm. Shall we wager which will kill you first, dearest of hearts?
Is that annoyance in her eyes? What could she possibly be annoyed at? Am I moving too slowly through my list? Is my love bored? I need to pick up the pace.
Let's move on to drowning, shall we?
And this is where the cold tea actually has a use. Taking the pot from the tray, I look about the room.
Now, where did that tea towel get off to?
I muse. My sweet dear moans.
Be calm, my love, all in good time.
I reach down and touch her skin, stilling her even more.
Ah, there it is.
I find the discarded and bloody tea towel. I must have tossed it aside in my haste to get to the next form of murder.
All right, my dear. This will be quite uncomfortable.
Placing the towel over my love's face, I reach under her neck and tilt her head back. Then, centering the teapot's spout just over her nose and mouth, I begin to pour. Slowly, with very careful attention paid, I steady my hand, keeping the stream perfectly aimed. Of course, if she could move, my love would be bucking and thrashing, fighting me with all of her strength. I wouldn't blame her. She is drowning after all. But with my touch reapplied, she is stiff as a board. Her arms stay close to her sides, her body flat on the floor. The tea fills her mouth and nostrils, yet she doesn't budge even a fraction of an inch. I do love my work. Pausing the stream of tea, I lean in close, placing my lips right next to her ear.
Do you feel it? That nearness? That hint of the void only a step away?
I think I hear her moan quietly, but that could just be a gurgle of tea in her throat.
Shall I continue?
Leaning back, I grin at the look in her eyes. Pure terror. But more than that, there is still so much life. Remarkable.
A second cup?
I laugh at my little joke as I resume pouring. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 20. 30. 40. I stop pouring. My love's eyes are glassy, lifeless.
Oh dear.
I set the teapot aside, removing the tea towel from my dearest darling's face as well. I place my hands on her chest, careful of the fountain pen's tube, and press down hard. A spurt of tea flies up out of the fountain pen and I giggle, pressing once more. Tea spurts from my love's nostrils, thoroughly spraying me.
My love!
I press down once more. Her mouth parts and tea spills out, yet her eyes remain glassy, lifeless.
Come on now, my love. A little cooperation is in order.
I really put my weight into it and shove down with all of my strength. Tea explodes from her nose, her mouth, and the fountain pen. She blinks and slowly looks at me.
There you are.
I lean in for a kiss, just a light touching of lips.
I feared we'd gone too far too soon. How distraught I would be if that were to happen. There is still so much I want to show you.
My attention returns to the tray and the instruments upon it. I hesitate, then pick up the rock hammer and one of the nails. Then I think better and grab a second nail from the tray. Showing them to my sweet darling, I study her head closely.
As everyone knows, to pierce the brain is to end the life. But, being a professional and expert practitioner of the countless ways to end a life, I have discovered that you may apply limits to the piercing and keep the fun going for a very long while.
Placing one of the nails firmly inside my love's left ear, I take aim with the rock hammer, lining it up with the nail, and strike. Her body shudders. I strike again. The wobbly placement of the nail becomes solid, sturdy. A thick trickle of blood leaks from her canal, down her lobe and onto her neck.
Number 9 is piercing the brain.
Carefully, steadily, I center the second nail directly over my dearest of darlings' left eye.
And the human head has so many ways to achieve that goal, so many different cavities to explore.
Lowering the nail, I set the sharp tip against my love's pupil. Then I strike it with the hammer. Oh, her body most certainly shudders with that. My paralytic abilities notwithstanding, I have yet to see one of my loves stay perfectly still when a nail is hammered through their eye. That is simply science. I leave one nail bobbing in her eye, and the other beating in her ear. It is fascinating to watch the nail in her ear, pulsing to the rhythm of her heartbeat. It's almost mesmerizing, but I shake it off.
Almost got lost in the work there, my dear. Let's lighten things up a moment before we get back to the list, shall we?
I exchange the rock hammer for a pair of pliers. Tracing the skin of her arm with the nose of the pliers, I can't help but admire the perfection of her skin. Milk white without a single blemish, not a vein or pimple, nor wart or mole. Of course, the skin on her abdomen, her chest, her breasts, her thighs, all of that is crisscrossed by thin and some thick scars of my making. Our sessions do get enthusiastic sometimes. When the pliers reach the end of her arm, I lift her hand and study each finger.
This little piggy went to the market.
I apply the pliers to the nail on her index finger. Twist, pull, pop. Blood wells and drips.
And this little piggy stayed home.
Twist, pull, pop. Off comes the nail from her middle finger.
This little piggy had roast beef.
Twist, pull, pop. The nail of her ring finger skitters across the floor as I toss it aside.
This little piggy had none.
Twist, pull, pop. Her pinky is as naked as her torso, and just as bloody, I might add.
And this little piggy...
Oh, how I relish a good finish. I put the pliers to her thumbnail.
Well, this little piggy cried, wee, 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 all the way home.
Twist. Huh. Not coming off.
Twist! Pull! Pop!
Blood squirts into my eye and I drop the pliers.
Turn it all to hell!
I curse and wipe the blood from my eye. The world has a crimson hue until I blink a few times and it becomes bright and clear once again. I smile down at her.
You little tramp.
I gather up all of the bloody nails, even the one from her ring finger, which had skittered under a footstool, and show them to my love.
I shall keep these if you don't mind.
I tuck them into a small pocket on my waistcoat, clapping my hands when finished.
Now, I believe we were on number 10.
I look about, frowning.
Where did that hammer get off to?
I find it right where I left it on the tray. Wielding it over her forehead, I sigh and shake my head.
No, this won't do.
I set the hammer back down, then look about the parlor and spy the perfect item. Getting up, I walk to the fireplace and pluck a sturdy candlestick off the mantel.
This is more like it.
My love's one eye tracks me and I chuckle.
Look at you fighting my influence.
I bend down so I can stroke her cheek. The tracking eye freezes in its socket, no longer able to move of its own accord.
Oh, what a strong woman you are, my love. Powerful, relentless. You are a sight to behold.
A moan. I look to her bleeding wrist, then at the clock on the mantel. Both tell me that we are getting close to the end.
My, how time does fly when you are having fun.
I straddle her chest, standing directly over her so that I can get as much lift as possible.
I will get on with it, my love. Here is number 10.
I bring the candlestick down hard, and her forehead cracks wide open.
A strong blow to the head.
I throw the candlestick aside and watch the blood well quickly within the indentation I have created in her skull. It is not an ideal way to kill someone, especially if you want to preserve their beauty, but it is extremely effective when done properly. I, however, did not do it properly. I want to continue with our fun, so I pulled the blow at the last second. Oh yes, her skull is most certainly fractured. There is no disputing that. The pool of blood under her head attests to that fact. But mine was not a killing blow, simply done for effect and demonstration. Stepping away from my heart of hearts, I study her supine form. Her bloody chest and belly, her thigh, her wrists, the nails in her ear and eye, her cracked forehead and the pool of blood spreading through the lake of tea that already wets the floor. She is a masterpiece, and I wish I had a camera to preserve this moment forever. Alas, cameras are not permitted during these sessions.
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
I fetch the vial from the tray, the one that does not contain malt vinegar. Holding it up for her one eye to see, I give it a little shake.
The clock is ticking, so we should move to 11.
Uncapping the vial, I lean in and place it to her lips. The smell that comes off the dewdrops of liquid I pour into her mouth is a smell of graveyards and chemical waste. I count out exactly 6 drops, then take a few steps back.
This, my dear, has a kick, as they say.
Her one eye widens until I fear it will burst from her head. Her back arches, her legs and arms spasm. Foam spills from out between her lips, from her nostrils, then even from her tear ducts. No matter the strength of my abilities, the poison I have given her is much, much stronger. I have yet to witness a body able to stay perfectly still. When her body finally stills, I check her pulse. Nothing. I fetch the malt vinegar vial. Then I tilt her head back and pour it directly into her nostrils. The bucking and thrashing begins again, then her lips part, and she sucks in a great breath. Touching her once more, she calms down and returns to her paralytic state.
You are remarkable, my love. A singular specimen that has no equal.
My eyes go to the scalpels left on the tray, still shiny and unused. Time to remedy that. First, I use my knife to cut away all of her garments. It takes a bit of doing, getting her out of her clothes while she lies there, dead weight. Well, almost dead weight. Let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. With her now naked, I steady my hand and get to work. A slice here, a cut there, a few targeted nicks around the armpits, the hips, the small of her back after turning her over. I continue to cut up the spine, then curve across one shoulder, returning to the other shoulder so there is symmetry. Then I dig my fingers inside the cuts and pull downward, stripping her back of her skin. Carefully, I roll her over and begin on the front, slicing the skin from her breasts, her belly, her legs, her arms. When I am finished, her skin is stretched out around her, giving her the look of an angel blessed with bloody wings.
Hang on, my love. We aren't done yet. Flaying is only number 12. You shall love 13, I promise.
I know what comes next, and I am prepared. Taking the rope from around the curtains, I make sure the length is correct. Then tying one end into a noose, I throw the other end up over the hanging light fixture in the middle of the ceiling. A hard pull, and I am more than certain it will hold. It does take some doing, but I manage to get my love's body upright, slipping the noose over her head, mindful of the nails in her eye and ear. I cinch the noose tight up under her chin. Then I let her fall free as I pull on the other end, lifting her delicious frame up off her toes and into the air. Her one eye bugs out wildly.
Hanging can be considered part of strangulation. However, I like to think of it as separate. Hands around the throat is much different than a properly tied noose. There is work that goes into hanging someone, while basic strangulation is much more spontaneous, requiring zero forethought at all. Thus, I have given it its own number.
One foot kicks, and I shake my head.
I am sorry, my love, but we are coming to the end of our session, and I must wrap things up.
I crack my knuckles and flex my fingers, then clench them into a tight fist.
Number 14 is internal bleeding.
Throwing punches with wild abandon, I pummel her midsection. Blood squirts and spurts from her various wounds. Sweat beads on my brow at the exertion of the beating. After a few minutes, I step back and wipe the sweat from my face. My hand goes to the inside of her thigh, and I feel a very slight, very weak pulse.
My God, you are incredible. Shall we move on to the last one? 15. My truly preferred way to dispatch a beautiful lover such as you.
The last of the clean scalpels are in my hand, one for each fist. My questions to her were rhetorical, so I do not wait for an answer. Not that she can give me one in her state. My scalpels go to work as if they have minds of their own. Slice, cut, slash, plunge, grab, tear. Hunks of her flesh fall to the ground as I open her body cavity wide to the world. Internal organs begin to shift and then slide and then fall from her torso, plopping wetly onto the floor. I shiver as pleasure rushes through my body, filling me with the drive and energy that keeps me going until all that is inside her is air. I stop my cutting and slicing and reach out, reach in, and caress the underside of her ribs. These bones are designed to protect the precious organ inside. They could not protect against me and my scalpels, though. The clock strikes 1 a.m. A single gong.
Alas, our time is up, my love.
I gather my tools.
I shall clean up and return shortly.
Giving her a short bow, I take myself and my instruments to her washroom. You would think I would be a horrible mess, but I am only slightly disheveled. I have been at this for a long while, you know. With myself presentable and my instruments cleaned to perfection, I return to the sitting parlor.
I believe we can dispense with most of those methods.
My love, the Lady Mort, smiles as Victor continues cleaning up the exquisite mess we made.
I would prefer we stick to hanging, beating, and then the last one, which was delightful.
She is still naked, but her body has repaired itself as expected. She sees me staring at her nudity and smiles.
Your hunger never ceases, does it, Jack?
She stands up and walks to me, then past me, and fetches a silk robe from the back of the parlor's door.
Believe me, I understand the feeling. That intoxicating lack of control, even when you are in complete control.
She returns to her chair, cinching the belt of her robe tight. hiding away that most wonderful body I just had my way with.
I do not understand why you do not charge for this service.
I could not dream of it, my lady. I bow my head. It is an honor to be allowed to do my work upon your body.
Oh, Jack, the honor is all mine.
Her smile widens, and she snaps her fingers. The parlor becomes a modern den. Victor and his waistcoat turn into Victor and a tight black t-shirt over tight black jeans. She snaps again, and her Victorian-style silk robe becomes a black kimono with faces of Oni demons decorating it.
Shall we set a regular session, Jack? Say, every Wednesday at midnight? Does that work for you? Is that an acceptable deal?
Of course, my lady. That would be more than acceptable. I could come twice or even 3 times a week if you would like.
Perhaps later. Let's start slow. Let us plan on methods 12 through 15 for the next session.
Flaying, hanging, internal bleeding, and then vivisection. I nod and smile. That shall make for an excellent evening.
Perfect. Good night, Jack. Victor will see you out.
And Victor does see me out.
Until next week, sir.
He gives me a bow. I don't bother to apologize for slashing his throat open. We all play our part.
You get your rocks off, freak?
The grotesque knocker sneers as the door closes behind me, leaving me standing on the stoop, all alone.
Don't be crude.
I turn my back to the knocker as I step down to the rain-slicked street. No other Ripper in history has attained what I have. No other one named Jack has secured a weekly appointment with Lady Mort before. Only I have achieved such greatness. And I will not disappoint her. No, no, no. To disappoint her would be to disappoint all of existence, considering how intertwined she is with the very fabric of reality. A tune comes to mind, and I walk down the street, whistling while my hand finds the bloody strip of cotton and the detached fingernails in my waistcoat pocket. I think of the times she and I will have. I must up my game, as they say. I must bring it next time. For when you are asked to roleplay with death herself, you better not disappoint. To hear more stories like this, be sure to hit subscribe and turn notifications on. I'll see you in the next one.